When you think of John Candy, what comes to mind? For so many of us, he was just this warm, hilarious guy on our screens. He felt like an old friend, right? His characters were just legendary in movies that totally defined a generation. But today, we're going to look a little deeper at the man behind all those unforgettable laughs.
And that feeling? It wasn't just for us, the audience. His friend and co-star Bill Murray, well, he summed it up perfectly. This quote, it really says it all, doesn't it? It sets the stage for who John Candy really was. At its core, he was just a genuinely kind person. So let's start with the guy the whole world thought they knew. The man we all loved, Hollywood's gentle giant. This was his public persona, right? The big-hearted, absolutely hilarious star who somehow felt like a friend to millions of people who'd never even met him.
I mean, just look at this list. Planes, trains, and automobiles, Splash, and of course, his iconic role in Uncle Buck. He had this incredible, magical gift for making his characters feel so real. They were flawed, they were funny, and they were just deeply, deeply relatable. You didn't just feel like he was playing lovable guys. You got the sense that's who he was.
But as is so often the case, there's more to the story. A new documentary, which was produced by Ryan Reynolds and Colin Hanks, is pulling back the curtain, and it reveals that behind that huge, beaming smile, there was a much more complicated, private struggle going on. A story of a man grappling with some pretty deep fears that almost nobody saw. And this brings us to what's really the core revelation from the people who knew him best. It's this idea that John Candy secretly, truly felt like he was living on borrowed time. And this wasn't just a fleeting thought, it was a shadow that followed him pretty much his entire life. His own son, Chris Candy, says it this plainly. This isn't just speculation. It was a very real thing that his family lived with and understood. And knowing that, well, it kind of reframes everything, doesn't it? The pressure he was under wasn't just about fame. It was something way more personal, way more existential. And this feeling, it showed up as crippling anxiety. His kids confirmed that, especially in his last few years. This struggle just got more and more intense. In fact, get this, he actually had an anxiety attack on his way to the set of his very last movie, Wagons East. And he kept it completely to himself. It's just such a powerful reminder that the brightest smiles can sometimes be hiding the heaviest burdens. So you have to ask, where did this all come from? This deep, deep-seated fear? Well, to understand that, we have to go all the way back to his childhood, to a loss that would cast a really long shadow over his entire life.
This timeline, wow, it just lays it all out so tragically. At just 5 years old, his father dies suddenly of a heart attack. He was only 35. Then, years later, his good friend John Belushi dies at 33. These sudden losses of men in their prime, it created this haunting story in his head, a pattern that tragically ended with his own death at just 43.
In this number, 35, the age his father died, it became the source of lifelong dread for John. His good friend, the amazing Eugene Levy, actually recalled in the documentary that John once told him, "I don't know if I'm going to make it past 35. I mean, can you even imagine carrying that kind of weight around for your whole adult life? And as if all those internal struggles weren't enough, they were being massively amplified by all the external pressures of Hollywood, especially when it came to his health and, well, his weight. This slide really shows the impossible spot he was in. His widow, Rosemary, talked about how Hollywood execs would tell him to pack on the pounds for a role, but at the same time, doctors were giving him these stark warnings saying, you've got to lose weight. I mean, talk about being caught between a rock and a hard place. A total professional and physical catch-22. Now, his friends also admit that he often pushed back against the advice he was given. Dave Thomas said he'd go through doctors like cigarettes. As soon as one told him the hard truth, you got to lose weight, you got to stop drinking, he didn't want to hear it. It was this really complex mix of outside pressure and his own internal resistance. But that's not where the story ends, and this part is so important. In his final years, something really started to shift. The story wasn't just one of decline, it became a story of a man actively, desperately trying to heal. I love this metaphor his son Chris uses. He said his dad was trying to turn the boat around. He was making this conscious, deliberate effort to change course. And not just for himself, but for his family too. And this wasn't just talk, he was taking real concrete steps. He and his wife started couples therapy. He began his own individual therapy. He even encouraged his kids to start, trying to normalize it, framing it as just another part of taking care of yourself, like going to the dentist. He was really doing the work.
So when you put all of these pieces together, it just gives us a much fuller picture. We can finally see the whole person, the public icon and the private man. And it makes you appreciate him on an even deeper level. And this final point from his daughter, Jennifer, it just connects his life and his art so perfectly. She compares him to his character from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Del Griffith, a guy who, despite all his flaws and imperfections, just wanted to be good and do good in the world. And really, that was John Candy. He knew he wasn't perfect, and that's exactly what made him so perfectly human.
And that just leaves us with this final thought. John Candy's story is such a powerful reminder. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How often do we have any idea what private battles are being fought by the very people who dedicate their lives to making us happy? It's definitely a question worth thinking about.